Okay, so it's been at least 5 months now that I've had both the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S. Over this time, I've actually been able to play both systems and compare them and see which one is really worth it. Is it better to get the Series X, which has a lot more, or is it okay to get the Series S? Now, when the pre-order started in November, I tried my best to get a system on the first day, and I had zero luck. No matter what site I went to, it either hung up or it was just out of stock, like in just minutes. But that's what friends are for. My good friend DJ Hero, who I do the Zyba Games podcast with, was able to actually order several of them, and he was able to get me one. Now, mine arrived a couple of weeks after the pre-orders, which was a little later in November. I remember it arriving and I got it here, I unboxed it, and I gotta tell you, like, the packaging on this was very, very nice. After the unboxing, I kind of looked at everything and even compared the evolution of the controllers since the Xbox One. The thing about this thing is it's like sort of this monolith. It's like this tall kind of just tower. And unfortunately, I'm not super excited with how the Xbox Series X looks. It's just sort of this tall block with a vent on the top, and I think the vent actually looks the best. But do you ever really just look at your consoles when you play the game? I don't. I actually had some trouble trying to figure out where to place this thing. Should I put it on the desk? Should I put it under the desk? Should it be visible? Should it be sideways? Should it stand up straight? Well, I ended up standing it up straight and putting it actually behind my TV because, again, I don't really need to see the console. Now, almost exactly a month later, right on Christmas Eve, I was able to acquire an Xbox Series S at Best Buy. They came into stock, I went to the site, and I had a little bit of trouble ordering it first because it kept telling me that it was out of stock, but it wouldn't move it out of my cart. And it turns out I just needed to change the location of the Best Buy that I was going to shop at. So I got in my car Christmas Eve and I went and picked it up curbside, brought it home, and did a little bit of unboxing here as well. Now, the setup for each system was actually very easy. I did it all from my phone. Both the Xbox Series X and the Series S recognized my phone from the network as soon as I signed into the app. It was very easy and actually quite impressive. I was up and running in minutes and ready to play on both of these systems, being that I have Xbox Live Gold and Game Pass Ultimate. I also save a bunch of game data on external hard drives, so connecting that was actually really easy for either system. After having both systems for about 6 months, I can honestly say that you're really not losing no matter which system you get. I'll explain. So if we compare the Xbox Series X and the Series S consoles with each other, and you see what features one has over the other, it really does help inform your decision on which system to buy. So let's take a look at what the shared features are for both consoles. Both consoles feature the Xbox Velocity architecture, quick resume, which is really cool, DirectX ray tracing, variable rate shading, spatial sound, gaming at up to 120 frames per second, smart delivery, which I absolutely love. You can play thousands of games across 4 generations, which is a given, and it works with Xbox One gaming accessories, which means I can use both my Xbox Elite Controller Series 2 on either console, which I actually do. And of course, with Game Pass, you have the same access to over 100 games. Again, that's kind of a given. But let's talk about the things that are really different. For example, the storage for the Xbox Series X comes with 1 terabyte of a custom SSD internal storage. The Xbox Series X comes with basically half of that internal storage. Now, of course, for both systems, you can expand the internal storage by 1 terabyte by purchasing the Seagate Storage expansion card. I actually pre-ordered one, but then canceled the order. I'll explain why later. Now, if we look at some of the other features that both of the consoles come with, both of them have a frame rate of up to 120 frames per second. But when it comes to the processor, obviously the Xbox Series X is 3 times more powerful than the Xbox Series S. Another difference is the Xbox Series X goes up to 4K, while the Xbox Series S goes to 1440. Now, while these are different, that's not too shabby to go to 1440p. The Series X comes with an optical drive, the Series S does not. When you look at the video capabilities, the Series X goes up to 8K, and the Series S is capable of 8K, provided that you have an ultra high-speed HDMI cable, which you'll have to buy separately. Both systems come with DTS 5.1, Dolby Digital 5.1, Dolby True HD with Atmos, and Windows Sonic, and the ports and connectivity are pretty much the same. You get 3 USB 3.1 Gen 1 ports, HDMI 2.1 out, and the wireless and the Ethernet are exactly the same. Once you look at the other features, you really start to see that while the Series S is not quite as powerful as the Series X, it still has some really good features and shares a lot of the same features as the Series X. Now, I will tell you, for the past 6 months, I have been playing my Xbox Series S way more than I've been playing my Xbox Series X. So let me explain the setup. My Series X is in my studio where I do all my work and streaming and content creation, and I also have 4K monitors with my setup. So it makes sense to have that system in this environment or in the studio area because I think it gives me the opportunity to use the system at the most of its capability. The Series S, however, is in the bedroom. Every time I get a next-gen console, I basically retire the older consoles to the shrine that you see back behind me here. So swapping out the Series S with the 1S or the 1X was very easy. As you can see, there wasn't a huge size difference. So how do they perform? I can honestly say that I do see some performance differences between the two consoles. For example, when I play Division 2, which has been enhanced since these new systems have come out, I do notice that there are some rendering issues. Right at the beginning, when I start up at the game, I notice that the helmet doesn't quite render correctly, and it takes a few seconds for the correct rendering to pop in. But after that, I have 0 problems with the game, and that's very, very, very minor. Other than that, when I play my Xbox Series S, I really don't feel like I'm missing out. When I come back in here to the studio and I play on my Series X, I'm not really sure that I see a huge difference in the performance because the frame rates are so great, and more studios are enhancing a lot of the games and making them Series X and Series S compatible. So again, which one is for you? For me, for both systems, it comes down to the resolution. If 4K is really what you need, then you might as well spend the money and get the Xbox Series X. I do not buy physical games anymore. I take advantage of the cloud. I haven't bought a physical game in years. I download everything now pretty much on all my consoles. I think the last physical game I bought was for my Nintendo Switch. And speaking of physical media, I also buy all my movies digitally. I buy a lot of movies. I know it seems kind of weird with there being streaming services and all these other things, but I really love movies and I like to have my personal collection of these movies. But years ago, I got rid of all my physical DVDs and most of my Blu-rays. They were taking up a lot of space when I was really moving more towards digital anyway. I found myself actually transferring all my DVDs to digital and not even playing them. So having an optical drive is not important to me at all because I'm not even gonna use it. And obviously there's a difference in the power that each system has with 12 teraflops versus 4 teraflops. But again, if you're not pushing 4K and 120 frames per second, kind of don't need it. And this is coming from someone who plays the Series S on the regular. When I play my Series S, I really don't feel like I'm losing anything when I come back to my Series X. And that's why I think you can't lose buying either system. Now, when it comes to storage, obviously you have a whole half of a terabyte more on the Series X, but I don't keep a lot of my games just sitting on my internal storage. I usually keep the games that I'm gonna play and keep the other ones in the cloud. Before these systems, when I had my Xbox One X and my One S, I just had external drives hooked up to those, and I used that same external drive and hooked that up to the Series S. So if I really want to keep a game out of the cloud and on a drive, I have access to it. But for the most part, I haven't really run into any problems. There's a few games that I keep on the internal drive at all times. Destiny 2, Forza Horizon 4, definitely those two all the time. But since I'm on a podcast, we play games every week. So I'm downloading a game every week. Most of the times I don't keep those games. Sometimes I do, but most of the times I don't. And with the cloud now, you could just easily uninstall these games. So is double the space of the Series X the win over the Series S? For me, it is not. It really doesn't make a difference. Playing a lot of the games that I play, especially games like Destiny 2, the graphics look absolutely amazing on the Series X. When they enhanced Forza Horizon 4 for both the Series X and the Series S, the first time I tested it out was on the Series X, but I play it mostly on my Series S, and again, I don't really feel like I'm losing anything. The graphics look absolutely amazing. The frame rate looks great, and this is on an HD TV, not a 4K screen. Honestly, I think that if you get your hands on either one, you're going to be happy. If 4K is an absolute must-have for you, then obviously you should get the Series X. But if you're fine with 1440 with the capability of possibly doing 120 frames per second, you're not losing by getting the Series S. Plus, you're saving a little money. There's no optical drive and there's a little less power, but if it's all about gaming and that's what you're focused on, the Series S is a lean, mean machine. Now, it might seem easy for me to say this because I have both systems, but I actually wanted the Series S first. I really did. Now, I ended up getting the Series X first, and I was able to play with that for a month, get the Series S, and see what the difference really was. And I don't think it's enough for you to be worried about which one you get. Again, for me, it all comes down to 4K. The storage, I don't care about. Don't use the optical drive, so I don't care about that either. And you can expand the storage on both of them anyway. So I hope this helps anybody trying to make a decision whether to get the Xbox Series X or the Series S. And let me reiterate, I don't think you're losing getting either one. Now, don't forget, I go live on Twitch every week, and I do a podcast with DJ Hero called Zyba Games that you can check out at zyba.games. So, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will be back with another one soon. See you guys.